My name is Brandy Benito, and I'll be doing my needs assessment on assistance programs provided for low-income families in Florida. What is a needs assessment? A needs assessment is a process that identifies unmet needs in the community, provides evidence of support for policy options, and increases public involvement in policy making. It is a method of formulating a plan for a desired outcome. For my needs assessment, the desired outcome is for low-income families to eventually rely on these assistance programs less in the future. By requiring these family members to participate in educational programs such as budgeting, money management, and resume writing skills, will we be able to improve the lives of these families for good. Let's talk statistics. According to the National Center for Children in Poverty, in 2016, it was found that families need an income of about twice the federal poverty threshold to meet basic needs. This threshold is $48,678 for a family of 4, which includes 2 children. Families below this are considered low income. 49% of children in Florida live in low-income families. Of these children, 52% had at least one parent working full-time. 29% had at least one parent working part-time. And 19% had neither parent employed. There are several government assistance programs that have been made available to low-income families. First, there is the SNAP or EBT program. These benefits are food stamps to help families purchase groceries. Second, there is the Temporary Cash Assistance Program. This program provides cash assistance to families with children under the age of 18. Third is Medicaid. Medicaid provides medical coverage to low-income individuals and families. Another program is assistance with utility bills. There are a few programs through the utility companies that will offer help to low-income families and senior citizens. Lastly is low-income housing or housing vouchers. There are several apartment buildings made available for affordable housing for low-income families. There is also a voucher from Section 8 or HUD that can be used to help pay a portion of a tenant's rent if they qualify. Currently, the waiting list for these Section 8 vouchers is closed and has been since 2015 in Orlando, Florida. Why do a needs assessment? It is important to find out how we can help our community and the individuals in it to improve their economic status. It is also important to help individuals to move on from using these assistance programs. Although there are things such as time limits and work rules put in place for some programs, it is not enough to ensure that the people in our community are properly equipped with the tools and the knowledge to become self-sufficient in the future. The target audience for this needs assessment includes educators and professionals and low-income family members. So the educators would be the children's teachers at the school, and the professionals would be those that work in the different programs that are available to the low-income family, such as the low-income housing and the SNAP benefits. Types of assessment. First, we will assess the programs that are provided. We will ask, are we helping our families improve their situations? We'll also ask, are we educating these families in order to help themselves in the future? The types of assessment we would do for the staff is, do we have knowledgeable staff to help find a family life education program that fits the family's needs? And for the families, are they prepared to improve their situation through these educational programs? Needs assessment tools. These are different tools that we will be using to assess the gap that occurs between what we offer now and what these families need in the future. So first, we will be conducting surveys and questionnaires. These surveys and questionnaires would be provided to the family members to see where they are currently in their situation and to see what types of programs would be beneficial for them so that they may be able to use what they learn in these programs in the future. We'll also be using these surveys and questionnaires with the educators and professionals to see what it is that they provide right now for these families. Another assessment tool is the suggestion boxes at assistance program centers. We would be able to take the suggestions that are put in there from the family members that take part in these programs and same as the surveys and questions, see what they are looking forward to learning if we put them in touch with different family education programs. And we could also use these suggestions to see how we can improve the programs that we provide now, especially the government assistance programs, and see how we can also improve in helping them to move on in the future from where they are right now. So for example, right now we're going through COVID-19, and there are a lot of people that are using these assistance programs right now that don't normally use them. And there are some people that have used them and continue to use them. So we can see where we can improve in these different programs that are provided and how we can better these programs so that these families aren't continually relying on them to be able to meet their basic needs. The third assessment tool are interviews. We could interview the staff to see how knowledgeable they are when it comes to extending additional programs to help these families beyond using the low-income assistance programs. We could see what needs to be done in terms of educating these professionals so that way they could be a better tool and a better resource for these families. And we could also interview the family members, just like the surveys and questionnaires, to see where they are right now in their situation and how we could help them to eventually move on so that that way they can become more self-sufficient in the future. Lastly, there is the analysis of statistics and records. So we could go back and see how often that these government assistance programs are used, and we can determine how many of these families repeatedly use these programs and how many only use them a few times and then they're not having to use them anymore. A good thing to learn is that a lot of these programs have a life expectancy. So, for example, the unemployment, we're able to use the unemployment for a certain amount of weeks, but for something like the temporary cash assistance can only be used a certain amount of months in a lifetime. So that would help in the long run for families to not rely so much on these programs. However, it doesn't mean that they're actually learning how to budget their time and their money so that way they wouldn't have to use these programs. So in order for them to be able to rely less on these programs, if we were able to make it so that they would have to also take an educational program, like for example, the kids could participate in like an after school type of activity having to do with money management, or it could become something, a curriculum that is required in the school. But we could also require that the adults in the family take family education programs having to do with money management and budgeting, so that way if something happens in the future, like another pandemic, then they are already set to be able to get through it without having to rely on these programs, especially programs in Florida that are taking way longer than they usually do, because there are so many people relying on them, and having to learn how to budget and to save money will, in the long run, help these families out so that way they do not have to rely on these programs. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to my needs assessment program presentation. This is something that is very near and dear to my heart because I live in a neighborhood where there are a lot of low-income families that live here, and it's something that a lot of people tend to go through, and they're never really helped out of their situation. So I believe that being able to educate them, at the same time helping them using these programs, will help their families and the children to be able to be educated more, so that way they are able to improve their lives. Thank you.